In 1687, one of the most important papers in physics was written by a fellow named Isaac Newton. In this paper, Isaac explains how the forces involved with an object create its motion, or not, as the case may be. The paper gives 3 important laws, and those important laws are so important that we call them Newton's first, Newton's second, and Newton's third law. Today we're going to talk about the first law, and quite simply put, the first law says that when the forces on an object are balanced, that object will continue to maintain its inertial status. Now that's a fancy way of saying, if the object is at rest, it'll stay at rest. If it is in motion, it'll stay moving at a constant speed so long as the forces are balanced. If the forces are unbalanced, then you will get a different situation where there will be a change in the inertial status of the object, meaning it'll either speed up or slow down. So let's look at an example where forces are balanced. Okay, our book here is at rest on the surface of a counter, right? The book is experiencing a gravitational force down. The counter is applying a force called a normal force up. And that normal force up is balancing the gravitational force down. The forces are balanced and the book remains at rest. We could stand and watch this book for a long time. It would continue to stay at rest. All right, our book here came sliding to rest. Now, it was already in motion and it changed its motion, in other words, decelerated, to rest. That occurred because of an unbalanced force. Newton's first law says that an object in motion will continue its motion unless an unbalanced force acts. Well, in this case, that unbalanced force was friction. You could hear it. It was a friction between the bottom of this book and the surface of this desk. Without that unbalanced force, the book would have continued moving in that direction with a constant speed. Objects with balanced forces move either with a constant speed or remain at rest with a 0 speed. In that example, what we had of the book sliding on the table surface was this. Here's our table. Here's our book. And it is moving in this direction. Okay. And it traveled in that direction. It had a force of gravity down, which was balanced with the normal force up. Force of gravity, which is balanced with the force normal, and those were equal in magnitude. And as the book slid along the surface, the book rubbed up against the table surface, and here was a force of friction that was acting against its motion. Now that force of friction is unbalanced. There is no force in this direction that balances it. And so it causes the book to slow down and stop. It doesn't continue motion. So what we're saying then with the first law is that for all objects that are traveling at constant speeds, they must have balanced forces. For all objects that are at rest, they must have balanced forces. An unbalanced force will create a change in the object's motion. It'll either be speeding up or slowing down with an unbalanced force. Okay? What happens to an object when it has an unbalanced force is dealt with by Newton's second law.